Hello there everybody, coming up for you today, Drew McIntyre addresses Jeff Hardy's WWE release. We've got a backstage update on Roman Reigns being pulled from a house show. Tony Khan has the AEW marketing machine right behind Hook, and Shayna Baszler credits this ex-WWE star for her main roster success. Hello everybody and welcome to the final news of 2020. Yes, sorry, I can see you're way ahead of me there. Yes, something does indeed look different. I've had to give myself a little bit of a haircut, but also we're coming to you live, not from the glorious WhatCulture studios, but from my spare bedroom, the Beige Base HQ, because right through that door, there is a nice man called Gavin who is fixing all of my central heating, and this is the only part of the house where you can't hear him doing any of that. But the thing is, of course, we did not spend all that money on all those nice studios for me to sit in front of this and give you a news video. So just look, by the magic of technology, wait for it. It's a bit better, isn't it? Anyway, we're gonna have to make do. This is the news. Now, several weeks have gone by since Jeff Hardy's release from WWE, and there's been, I think probably mercifully, a lack of detail around this. We did try to say at the time we reported on it, we didn't think it was the right thing to speculate on, to throw rumours around about. We kind of only wanted to focus on the fact, and that was he had left WWE, he had turned down their offer of rehabilitation, but that Matt Hardy and those around him said he was in a good place and getting the help he needs. But Drew McIntyre has just done an interview with DAZN in which he has addressed the issue because he was there at the time. Now, you may remember from the initial report, it had been described that Jeff Hardy he had a rough week. He'd been on a house show, he'd been sluggish on said show. Well, Drew was teaming with him on that particular show. It was him and Xavier Woods in a three-man tag team, and Drew has said the following about the incident. For one, as usual, the internet can take something and blow it out of proportion. But all I'll say on the matter is that I just want what's best for Jeff and for him to be healthy. As long as he's good, and as long as he's healthy, as long as he's happy with his family, then Drew McIntyre is happy. Now, there's not really loads in that, but given how long it's been since this incident, you would imagine that Drew and the rest of the locker room have been in contact with Jeff Hardy, either direct to him or through, say, Matt or a member of his family. So if Drew is still at this point saying, we just want what's best for him, so long as he's happy, then everybody else is happy, that kind of implies that he is, as was previously reported, in a pretty good place. Now, still, we don't really want to start speculating on this, and oh, what does it all mean? Oh, what does sluggish mean, etc., etc., because Drew is right. It doesn't really matter. The internet is going to blow everything out of proportion. There's been talk, people have been fantasy booking him into other promotions and doing this and doing that, and it's just, the guy's clearly in a bad spot right now, but he's in the best place to be for that bad spot from what we've been told anyway. So Drew is absolutely right. The best thing to do right now is just to hope that he's happy, and so long as he is happy, then there's no reason for anybody to worry. Taking himself away from professional wrestling is usually for wrestlers with these kind of issues, the best thing you can possibly do, because then you're not putting your body on the line every single week and you can focus on your brain instead. Excuse me. So this is a small update, and one that on the surface probably doesn't sound like there's loads to it, but still, it's positive. Alright, now speaking of the internet and speaking of rumours, there have been a few little ones flying around because the lineups for WWE shows this week, namely Raw, NXT 2.0, probably tonight SmackDown, and certainly a lot of house shows, looked quite different from what was allegedly advertised. Namely, a lot of the big names were pulled from them. They were advertised to appear ages and ages ago, but certainly weren't on those shows. Roman Reigns in particular being the most notable absentee because he was not on a single house show this week. And this has, of course, led to everybody coming up with a million different theories about why that is. But, of course, your pal and mine, Big Banter Dave Meltzer at the Wrestling Observer newsletter, he's actually been told something about this, and it makes perfect sense. I'm going to read it out. I've got my laptop on a chair here because I've lived in this flat for 5 years and still haven't decorated this room. But anyway, we press on. Meltzer has said, basically what I was told on Sunday night was that there are people who are being held off this week's touring that are the main eventers essentially on pay-per-views because they don't want Lesnar, Heyman and Roman Reigns, for example. They want them all at day one. It's very important. Whatever storyline they're doing, it's the Mania storyline they've got to be there for, if at all possible. So Reigns was pulled from every show to lessen his shot at getting sick, and of course Lesnar wasn't going to be at the house shows, and Heyman didn't need to be on the house shows either. I don't know if Big E tested or if he was pulled. He's also a main eventer. Rollins was tested positive. Lashley, we don't know, but he's in the main event, so it can go either way. Then Kevin Owens, I guess they just felt they needed to have one guy out there for TV and for the house shows. So, reading between the lines there, or just literally reading exactly what he said, they're being precautionary. For the first time in about 18 months, WWE taking fairly sensible precautions and not putting their biggest names on these, I'm not going to say meaningless, because if you've ever been to a house show, you know it's a ruddy good time, and that's the entire meaning of professional wrestling, but certainly if you've got one eye on day one, you've got both of them squarely on the Rumble and WrestleMania. You don't want somebody picking up COVID in a small house show, bumping in front of a few hundred people. As much as it would mean loads to those few hundred people to see them in the flesh, you don't get everybody you want to get at a house show. So I kind of think this one probably makes sense. We know right now, going into, I mean, day one is like, what, hours away at the time of me recording this. There's the police. Day one is hours away at the time of recording this. There's no big names pulled from it, as far as we know just yet. So, looks to have worked. Okay, so I tell you who's a wrestling sensation, Hook. And I've had a few people asking me questions the last 2 weeks or so, being like, why is everybody really into Hook? I don't understand it. He's not even done anything. He's just cool. I can't explain to you why he's just cool. If you can't see that he's cool, then I hate to break this to you, but you're probably not cool either. I'm sorry, it's just a cool guy thing. Get over it. Anyway, Tony Khan has been asked about Hook's development. He's been asked about what he's going to be doing, and he has said this absolutely wonderful phrase. Again, got my laptop on a chair because we're very high-tech here today. Hook could be Rookie of the Year. I should say this is in Sports Illustrated, by the way. Full credit to Sports Illustrated. Hook could be Rookie of the Year in any year. He has the marketing machine fully behind him. He has a great coach from his father, Taz, who is his mentor, and he's learned from a lot of very intelligent pro wrestlers. It bodes really well for him, and he's going to be special every time you see him on screen. There is so much to look forward to in 2022, and Hook is a big reason for that. Now, look, having done a bit of marketing myself, Tony Khan, what I would be doing right now, tonight, is I would be putting a big graphic out saying there is so much to hook forward to you see what I've done there, in 2022. Now, Hook's had 2 matches now. Wait, no, he's had 1 and he's got another one tonight, I think is correct. No, he's had 1 or 2 matches. I can't remember quite which one it is. And he has also done a post-show segment where he slapped the goddamn white off Cody Rhodes' teeth. And everybody loves him. The guy is incredible. Every sequence he pulls together feels like you've never seen it before. I can't, again, articulate to you precisely what the thing with Hook is, but Hook is gonna be a thing next year. If AEW use him right, if they don't rush him, if they don't try and force this on everybody, he's gonna be a goddamn sensation. If they just give us, if they just send Hook just as and when we need him, he's gonna be the biggest thing next year. And we can revisit this video in a year's time, certainly, where he's done absolutely nothing and I look very silly, but just how rare is it to feel that level of excitement, to get that buzz about a brand new professional wrestler? It virtually never happens. The guy went from 0 to 100 in a single, few months, didn't he? He was around and he had his match, and I get carried away whenever I talk about Hook. I just think it's so nice to get somebody come out of nowhere, be so young and so raw, and yet still clearly have so much talent. We haven't had that in so long. Because normally the most exciting talents to talk about were the new NXT guys, but most of them were coming off the indies anyway. This is somebody AEW has effectively grown in a jar, in a lab, in-house, and it's a very exciting prospect, for me anyway. Now, we end the year on a story which, I'm just going to front load this, is full of praise for Nia Jax. If you put a bet on at the start of the year that we would do one story this year that praised Nia Jax, you've won that bet at the last possible moment, and it comes from fellow Warhammer 40k player Shayna Baszler. I just want to say really quickly, Shayna Baszler, if you are indeed watching this, just play me. I've got 2,500 points of Drakari sitting there. I've got some sisters if you want to play them instead. I'm not hard to find. Just hit me up. Anyway, she has done an interview with Metro where she's talked about her time on the main roster, and do you know what? It's fairly brutally honest, this, because she talks about, you should go check, I'll put the link somewhere, you should check this full interview out, because she talks about learning to not just be a pro wrestler, because she learned that in NXT, but learning to be a WWE star, and how that is, for somebody coming from an MMA background, a huge, huge difference. Anyway, so before we get to the Nia Jax thing, when she hit the main roster, there's some quotes about Vince here which are quite interesting. My style in the ring, people believe, oh, I don't know, man, she went off the page and did something there. Vince really likes that. There's times where he's like, that just looked like you were fighting. And I'm like, well, yeah. For a while, it was hard for me to find the balance between, am I a fighter or am I a pro wrestler? Even in the ring, I think I found the melding between the two. It's been good. Now, obviously, that's quite interesting because there was so much of a difference between the Shayna Baszler we saw in NXT and the Shayna Baszler we got on the main roster, because it just didn't quite work. I was there for that Survivor Series, not in person, obviously, nobody was there in person. No, wait, which year was it? Anyway, I watched that Survivor Series where she had the triple threat match, and it was billed as this big arrival for her in the company, and all the reports were afterwards that Vince absolutely hated that match, and it did admittedly underwhelm when you watched it at the time. So she's had a job on to find this balance, to find something that works for her, something that works for Vince, something that works for the shows. But who has helped her do that? Nia Jax. And this is another great quote. As experienced as I am in one-on-one combat, she was far more experienced in being on Raw and SmackDown, so she would really help me. You might want to try this instead, she'd say. She helped me find my footing for sure. When I came up, I didn't know anybody, so for a while, she was the only one I was hanging out with, just because we were kind of forced to have this sort of relationship together. And that's a nice story. That is a nice story. For all, Nia Jax gets absolute pelters because of her in-ring record, and I think partly because of her attitude around it. It is nice to know that backstage things are nice, that there are, I mean, she's not there anymore, so it's not that nice, but you know, that these friendships do form and these people do help each other out. It's just, of all the stories we've had in 2021 about beef and about fallout and about firings and about sackings, I just kind of wanted to end on a story that was like, look, it was nice and people got on and they helped each other and everything was slightly rosier than it might appear every time you turn on the regular news. So yes, look, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, but it's Nia Jax though. But look, it's the only story that came out today that was quite nice. So there you go. All right, two quick questions to end the year. I've got one here from Boopy David, who asked, actually I'll do that one second. I've got one here from Thick Boobs asking which pillar should Hook face first. He thinks Darby Allin, and would I rather see him tag with or fight Dominic Mysterio? Now, just quickly to answer that second question, I would much rather see them fight, but not in a pro wrestling ring. I would like to just see some completely unreasonable incident in a bar get out of hand between the two and everybody captures it on their mobile phones, because I think you would assume Hook would murder him, but I do genuinely think Dominic Mysterio can probably go. He's got good reach, so I'd just be interested to see that one. Anyway, who would have him fight first out of the pillars? Yeah, Darby Allin's right, isn't it? They're both sort of like, they both feel a sort of similar age, they feel a similar vintage, even though Darby's been around a lot longer. I think that would be a match I'd be very much looking forward to seeing in 2022, which is, God, in a couple of hours. Anyway, so this one's from Boopy David, who asks, who is your wrestler of the year for 2021? And look, everyone's going to say, when they ask this, everyone's going to say Punk, everyone's going to say Danielson, Page, Omega. People are going to say all these names. I genuinely think it's Roman Reigns, because yeah, look, I understand all the points about the other ones, and is he my favourite wrestler of 2021? No. Did I have the most fun watching his matches? No. But has anybody else contributed to pro wrestling what he has this year? Like, when you actually think about it, his entire summer program with John Cena was, I am holding this company up on my back, and John Cena went, yeah, I'm going to save it from you, and then lost. Like, Roman Reigns has just single-handedly dragged a passable year out of that company. We like to criticize, we like to make fun, we like to criticize, and I say this show was bad, and this booking was bad, and this didn't make sense, etc., etc. But none of that's untrue. But it's all usually balanced out by, look, Roman Reigns is entertaining, and he's been entertaining for a solid calendar. Yeah, he had an incredible WrestleMania main event. He's had 3 or 4 amazing feuds. His head of the table character is genuinely watchable every single week. They found new angles to go with it. They somehow made a feud between Roman and Brock Lesnar interesting with it at the end of the year. So, honestly, all those other names, excellent shouts. But I don't think anybody has ever done for a company the size of WWE what Roman Reigns has done for them this year. Whatever he's getting paid, they need to treble it. Like, the guy's just been incredible. And that's it. That's it for the news. That's it for 2021. That's probably it for all the videos going out on WhatCulture Wrestling this year. Actually, probably be a list tonight. I won't talk about anyway. But that is it. That is it for 2021, and that is it, especially for me, filling in on the news and filling in on all the podcasts for a good long while, I would imagine. This is me. As of in a couple hours' time, I actually finish for my Christmas holiday, and I'm going to go away. I'm going to go see all my friends. I'm going to have like 2 weeks off. I'm just going to have the best time, and best of all for you guys, Next week, everybody else is back, so there'll be no break, there'll be no interruption to your regular service. You'll actually get everybody back. Thank you so much to everybody who has put up with me for the last 10 days, and thank you, Jesus, so much for all the nice messages I've had off you lot for like the whole duration of this. I'd fallen off. I'd fallen out with presenting. The stick you get for absolutely nothing just really does drain your mental health after a while, and I wanted to do other things in the company, so that's where I've been, that's where I'm going to go back to. You still see me every now and then, as and when it's needed, but this has been a lovely reminder that it is really nice occasionally to be on camera and to interact with all you guys and to feel the love. So I have felt it. Thank you very much. And to all the people who are like, oh, I can't watch this because I hate Cleary so much, it's fine, I'm gone after this. You get everybody back. You get everybody back starting now. So, a final sign off. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuned into this video and to any of the news videos in the last 2 weeks. It's been a genuine pleasure. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself. Let us know what you made of it all in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And get me on Twitter at Adam Cleary, CLERY. Get the entire WhatCulture Wrestling family, all of them, back next week at WhatCulture WWE. But until I see you next time, it's been real, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.